Hi guys, welcome back. We're going to continue on with the next couple exercises of probability. One thing I need to clarify is I've noticed when you guys did the form, there's two questions in forms, still some of you guys are getting confused with how to write the answer. When it says, for example, I think in this question, when it says, let me just grab my pen. When it says list the sample space, when it specifically says list, you are to state all the possible outcomes, all the possible things that you can get. So that's why we write a capital S equals, and in this case, it was the number of suits, the different type of suits we can get in the card pack. So it's diamonds, clubs, spades, and hearts. So I listed it out with the capital S and the brackets. If I ask you what is the number of possibilities in a sample space, that's when you do it this way with the little n and the brackets, and you state 4 because that's how many different suits there are. There are 4. But this particular question is asking to list. So every time it says, if you don't see the word number in the question, then you just list the possibilities. So even for this one, this is saying how many elements. So it's asking you for a particular number. It's not asking you to state it. So this says a die is rolled and the number on the uppermost face is noted. How many elements are in the sample space? So in the sample space, how many options do you have? It's 6 because there are 6 different numbers on a dice. If they ask you to list the sample space, you write it like this. Like that. Put the commas in between. Like that. So that's how, just to make sure you know the difference between the two. All right, so we're going to move on. Today we are looking at exercise 10.4 in the year 7 textbook. This is simple probability. So if you guys remember when I did the basketball, it broke, it fell on the floor. I'll fix that later. But when I did that challenge, I asked you guys to state me or write a fraction of what you guys will predict I will get. So out of 20, some of you guys wrote 6, 5. I predicted 6 out of 20. So this is what this chapter is kind of about. So this exercise. So this is a fraction that you guys need to know. Let me just pause the video and I'll write it. Okay, so this is the fraction that you guys kind of wrote for when I did the basketball trick challenge thingy. So the probability of the event, so the event was Miss John getting it through the hoop. The number of favorable outcomes. So this is a fraction. So the top number of the fraction is how many I actually got. So I did get 3. So in this case, if I were to write it, let's say ball in hoop. That is what the event was. The number of favorable outcomes. So how many did I actually get in? It was 3. And how many were the possible outcomes? So altogether, how many chances did I get? 20. So this is how you write simple probabilities. This is obviously just a fraction. The top number is what you got from this event, and the bottom is all the possible outcomes. Also make sure when you guys do the fractions that it is simplified as much as you can. So remember, you just keep dividing until you can't divide both numbers anymore. All right, so we're going to do a couple of questions. So Christopher rolls a fair 6-sided die. Part A, what are all the possible results that could be obtained? So that's really asking for the sample space. B, what is the probability of obtaining a 4, a number greater than 2, and an odd number? All right, so if I were to do this question, let me just get rid of this title so there's more room. Here. Okay, so we know it's a 6-sided die. So part A, when it's asking for all the possible results, I would write it like this. It's not asking for how many results I can get. It's asking for what are the options that Chris can get. So we know it's a fair 6-sided die, so he can get either 1 to 6. B, part 1. What is the probability of obtaining a 4? So make sure it's asking you how many 4s are there in this question. So, in this scenario, there's only one 4. Let me just do it there. So probability of getting a 4. So this is how you write the question out. So you write P bracket. It's asking for just obtaining a 4 equals 1/6 because there's only one 4. So the chance of him getting a 4 is 1 out of the 6 chances. Part 2, a number greater than 2. So you can just write number greater than 2. So if you look at the question and the number is greater than 2, there are 4 of them. So then you just write 4/6. Again, I need to simplify as much as I can. So 2/3. Part 3, an odd number. If we're looking at the odd numbers, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 odd numbers, so probability of an odd number. So you need to write it out like this. Probability of getting an odd number is 3/6, which is a half. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's do 2 more questions. Oh, this is the same one, sorry. This one. Leah has been given a bag of marbles to play with. Inside the bag there are 3 blue, 6 red, 4 green, and 7 black marbles. How many marbles are in the bag? Okay, this question is different because it's asking for how many. It's not asking you for what is in the bag, what is the sample space. So for 4A, because it's asking for how many, you write it with the little m, s. So how many marbles are there? So 3 plus 6, 9. 9 plus 4 plus 7 is 20. So the samples, the number of marbles in the particular in that bag, or whatever Leo's playing with, is 20. All right, part B. If Leo takes 1 marble out of the bag, calculate. So they've written it out how you're supposed to write it out. So you write capital P. Part 1 is saying probability of getting a red marble. So I'll just say red. So there are 6 red out of 20. You can't just write 6. You need to write it as a fraction every time. And make sure it's simplified. And I'm going to simplify this to 3 out of 10. So 3 out of 10 chances Leo will pick a red. Part 2 is the probability of getting a green. So green, there are 4 out of 20, which is 1 out of 5. Part 3, probability of getting a black marble is 7/20. Can't simplify that. And part 4 is blue, which is 3 out of 20. So that's all it is. It's about finding out how many options there are in total. And then when they ask particular questions, like this one's asking for red, green, blue, black, the different colors of marbles. If they're asking for the chance of picking a particular letter out of the alphabet, or like for example a vowel out of the alphabet, things like that. And also make sure that your answer is in a fraction. So hopefully that makes sense. This is just simple probability. So this exercise is really about understanding the sample space and writing the fraction to state the chances of obtaining that event. Now I want you guys to complete these questions. So from exercise 10.4, this question 4 has more parts to it. It says C to H. So I want you to finish that. Complete question 8 and question 10 as well. Remember, this is in the Year 7 book. I want you guys to please put it into your maths homework section, create a week 4, and upload onto that. If you do it into your book, if you can just take a photo of your book with your laptop and upload onto there, that will be great. And then we'll go through all the answers in our next lesson. All right, guys, see you later.